You're watching The Briefing. Our headlines today. In the UK, Theresa May's ruling Conservative Party loses hundreds of seats in local elections. Cyclone Foni's made landfall in eastern India. It's expected to be the strongest to hit the region in 2 decades. Well, let's stay with that story now, and if we can, speak to Devendra Tak, who is the Save the Children representative, who is in Bhubaneswar, the capital of Odisha, which is right now in the path of the storm. Devendra, this is, as we've been talking, the strongest tropical storm that we are expected to have seen in the last 20 years. How many people are in its path?
Yes, it is the strongest cyclone or storm in many years now. There are, of course, 3 coastal states of India which are the most vulnerable. But the good news is that most of the people who are living in the coastal areas have been evacuated to safe shelters. As you know, that these areas here are quite vulnerable to such storms, and so the government and many NGOs have been working here for decades now to create cyclone shelters and to create awareness programs in terms of disaster risk reduction. In fact, yesterday onwards, many of the children trained by Save the Children have been part of the awareness campaign to help people evacuate in time. And as of now, more than 1 million people have been evacuated from the coastal areas into safe shelters.
And so many people have already been preparing, as you say, and this is an area that is used to very severe weather, isn't it? But still, I mean, it's coming in sort of parallel to the coast. It's hitting a very large area.
Yes, indeed, it is hitting a very large area. And I would like to point out that apart from the loss of lives of people, there are so many other casualties in such a situation. For example, there could be a lot of livestock which is still very vulnerable, and of course the livelihoods of people, which includes their farmlands, their fishing boats, and even their shops could be very vulnerable. And what we as Save the Children are very concerned about is possible damage to the homes of people. And you know the worst thing for anyone is to go back to a home after such an emergency to see it broken or damaged. And particularly for children, it can be a very frightful situation. So we know that in the Phylon cyclone in 2013, one of the most impacted structures were the school buildings. And Save the Children believes that children should be at school in such situations. That's the safest place for them. So if schools are harmed, Save the Children and other organizations and the government too should be able to quickly ensure that children are able to get back to school as quickly as possible. So yes, I mean, there's the fear of the waterborne and vector-borne diseases which can persist for weeks after the landfall which is occurring right now. So there's a lot to look out for.
Yeah, there certainly is. Stay safe. Thank you very much for your efforts. Thank you, Devendra Tak there. Now it's time to get all the very latest